Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. We're like a book club for people who hate reading. This month they're doing movies you own, so I picked the movie Snatch, directed by Guy Ritchie, made in 2000. We bring you movie news, and this week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, and the man who's in the front lines of the zombie apocalypse, Ryan Preston. So who has a description of this movie?
So, Snatch 2000. Unscrupulous boxing promoters, violent bookmakers. That's stupid. Russian gangster, incompetent amateur robbers, and supposedly Jewish jewelers fight to track down a priceless stolen diamond. What the hell is a violent bookmakers? There is no bookmakers in this movie. There's bookkeepers.
No, I think bookies is what they're.
That could be another thing.
My favorite thing.
Bookmakers?
My favorite thing about this movie is they spend literally the first half hour explaining who everybody is.
Yeah.
And at first you're like, I don't care about this, and then 40 minutes later, 10 minutes after, you're like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
See, that's always been the fun for me of Guy Ritchie movies is you have that intro in the beginning where the screen stops and the dude's name comes up and he's like, "Oi, this is Ritchie," and the crazy accent. You're just like, "Oh hell yeah!" Then
You just
Yeah, you might have to repeat that one. You Skype just crapped out on you.
I want to jump into this one first, just a little bit. This one is probably by far the best Guy Ritchie film out there. And he's got quite a lot of really great films, but this one, it just changed the way a lot of people view British films, to me.
Where in the scheme of things, between Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels in this movie, which one came out first?
This one.
Lock, Stock came out first, didn't it?
Was it? I'm actually pulling it up. Oh, yeah, sorry. 2 years before.
Because
I watched them both probably the same year.
The reason why I asked is I remember everybody raving about Lock, Stock, and Smoking Barrels, and then
Two Smoking Barrels,
and not being very overwhelmed by it, and absolutely loving this movie.
Yeah. This one, I actually like this one better than Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, although the fact I do love that film, though. But I'm actually going to turn this over to Ryan before I get into it, because what I have is more towards the end of the film. If Ryan is... Goodbye, Ryan! So, I guess...
You can hear me at all.
Oh, we can hear you now.
Oh, well, that's terrific.
But we can't see you.
Well, let's see. I always love the intros of Guy Ritchie movies. I mean, that's one of the things I kind of look forward to. This one, had just about every damn good actor you could think of at the time.
Yeah,
I'd still say, even today, they're amazing actors.
Yeah, I would agree.
What's his name? Farina. Dennis Farina.
Oh, okay.
As what's his name? Avi.
Yeah.
Our cousin Avi. That's one of the funniest things he's ever done.
And you have the king of mumble.
The wry British humor is perfectly.
Hello, Ryan.
Anyways, I agree. There is a lot of British humor that doesn't translate as well over to America, but I don't think this film was something that changed America's perception on some of those, because you had to have people who were used to things like oh gosh, while you were waiting. Are You Being Served and Faulty Towers? Those were British shows that were brought over, but you had to watch those on Channel 6.
You see, the reason why I thought, I don't know, the way they showed the comedy, they actually explain the joke as you're watching it, kind of.
I don't know. I think the whole part of, the jokes that were kind of made of proper fucked or taking a piss and things like that.
But that all made sense, though. I don't know. To me, they showed the results of what proper fucked after the fact. Proper fucked with a dog chasing, scene trying to chase the rabbit. That totally made sense to me. It's like, oh, okay, this makes a lot of sense why they're saying that.
Yeah, true, but I think some things were a little bit difficult to be transferred over.
No, I agree.
But, for me, this one was probably one of Jason Statham's best roles at the time. Another great actor that was in this film that wasn't as highlighted as much as Brad Pitt or Jason Statham was Vinnie Jones. I love that guy. This is one of the roles that...
Oh, Bullet Tooth Tony, yes.
Yes, that he stood out to me and really made me love him.
Wasn't he in Gone in 60 Seconds?
Yes. And then you also have Alan Ford, the guy that's Bricktop. He is England's best bad guy that you love to hate.
Oh,
he played Bricktop. He was an amazing actor in this one. I was trying to pull up another one that he was in. I can't remember the name. It was something Kings or something like that.
He totally played
Another
a scumbag in this movie. I mean, like a guy you love to hate. I love his explanation of when they broke into the pawn shop, when those guys were disassembling the body. And I love how he was explaining about...
who are you other than a man who likes to feed bodies to pigs?
Exactly. I loved the whole thing. There was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's there's a lot of great writing that was in this film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And this is one that was written and directed by Guy Ritchie as well. This is like this is actually his first actual film that like took over the reins, because this went beyond the fandom of guys from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I've met a lot of people who have seen Snatch, but they have not seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and I always introduce them to, like, how did I miss this one?
Well, I think Snatch, personally, I always thought had like a more broad market appeal, whereas from my experience, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels is a very, you know what I mean? It's not as, it's a little more narrow in my opinion. As far as liking, not as broad market.
I think if you're an international film fan, you could pull that up. But to not be an international film fan, it's something that Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels would go underneath the radar. Snatch, considering that it had Brad Pitt, which is a really big American name for the time, 2000, and he's even still to this day a really big film, well-known actor in film. That's pretty much what the crossover into American cinema is the fact that they had Brad Pitt to bill on this one.
And my favorite thing about this is because you have Benicio del Toro, who's named the King of Mumble, who you could understand. However, Brad Pitt being a pikey, as they called it, and
that's a gypsy for those of you that don't understand.
So I brought up Urban Dictionary, so mileage may vary on what it actually means. And here's what it says.
It's over across the pond.
From English turnpike, the place where itinerant travelers, thieves would camp near a settlement. Pike is not a racial group. The term is used to describe anyone who lives in a caravan or shares the same values and cultures of the traveling community and who maintains source of income and the follows.
For those of you that don't know what a caravan is, that's a trailer. You idiots. So yeah, that's something else. I never had an issue understanding the pikeys and
they definitely
stuff,
played
but
up
you
part
have
of it.
to. You have to be able to understand English really quick to catch what they're saying, because they'll say like 5 words in the matter of 2 seconds.
See, I didn't think. I wonder if.
And some versions of Snatch do have pikey subtitles for you idiots.
The version I have, I didn't think it did, but I actually saw on the menu,
Yeah.
and I turned those on so I could actually understand what they were saying this time.
Yeah, so for those of you that are getting your panties in a bunch, I offered Ryan to try calling into the show. We'll see if that works, but here he comes on Skype. So, moving on back to the thing that I was waiting for Ryan to bring up, or waiting for Ryan to be back to bring up.
Are you there, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
So, one of my all-time favorite scenes in this movie, besides some of the boxing fight scenes between Brad Pitt and random guys, even Gorgeous George, was the bar scene where Vinny sits down, Vinny Jones, and he's got, I just closed that because I just had the actors' names up. One of them, Lionel, and what was the other guy's name?
The Vinnie Jones?
No, the black guys. It was Robbie Gee and Lenny James. I'm sorry. So those 2 guys are in there, and you also have the other guy, Tyrone, all in the bar, and they come up and they're pointing their pistols at him.
Oh, yes.
And he's sitting there and he just pulls it, yours have replica written on the side and mine has Desert Eagle .50.
And I love the zoom up of the replica, and then after he says that, they actually show the words on the side of the barrel. I love that was really well done.
Now the thing that tripped me out, because I have not noticed this in all the times I've watched Snatch, the bar that they're walking into, as they're outside, it says on the side "open all day." And then on the other side, it had children's area. So at this bar, there's an area where you can place your kids in while you're having a drink. That is freaking funny. Did you ever notice that, Ryan?
No, I didn't.
I just caught that.
It's hilarious because I've seen that movie 1,000 times.
I know, and I just caught it this time watching that. But now the thing is that I was going to mention is there's a lot of interesting ways that Guy Ritchie puts information in this movie, like the Russian and all those things, and how he tied them all in to that scene when they're driving down the road.
Oh, yeah.
And how he kind of did real time along with future time and then past.
That was just
a really amazing way to tell that section of the movie. I mean,
actually,
do you know what I'm talking about, Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's one of my favorite
really,
scenes.
It's brilliant.
This is one of those few writer-directors, where you know that it's a Guy Ritchie movie from the second you start watching it.
Yeah.
You know, the intro scenes are brilliant. The always the intro to the character and with some awesome freaking British voiceover and those little cut scenes to something that happened before.
And
he's got such a stylized way of doing everything, and also sort of portraying that awesome, like gangster European kind of thing.
Yeah, he likes the gangster European stuff.
I would say one thing, at least from the movies I've seen of his, most of his movies, there's not a lot of wasted time or wasted flow. This movie, it had so much information that it handled it. He did an amazing job of balancing everybody and not getting you bored of one scene. And matter of fact, he'd switch scenes and you couldn't wait to go back to the other scene. When it would switch, you'd want to go back to the other scene you were just at. And it's a really amazing job of being able to balance so much information, which I think the only way he was able to was basically giving you the introduction of everybody.
It's like everything he did was just for the sheer joy of what you were watching. I mean, it's all scenes like Brad Pitt beating the crap out of Gorgeous George, or the caravan scene, which, I mean, everybody in their world quotes.
Yeah, you like Dags.
You just walk up to somebody and said you like Dags, and that's kind of the thing.
Now, one of the things I was mentioning while you were away was now I've never had an issue understanding the Pikeys.
No, neither have I.
And I think what that has to do is being in Southern California, because Southern Californians talk so much faster than pretty much the rest of our country. And I don't know why that is, but I've always noticed that, is that Southern Californians, I don't know what it is, but they're just fast talkers. And that's pretty much what you get when you run into the Pikey language from this film, is that, and I'm going to say this straight out, and this has always been my feeling on this role that Brad Pitt played. This is by far one of the best roles that Brad Pitt has ever done. And I actually would say this is more of a favorite role of mine than even even Inglourious Bastards. And that's saying a lot for me, because I love that film.
Is this like his Last Samurai for Tom Cruise?
I would say this is something where you see him step out of most of the genre that he had done before.
Because this was after Fight Club.
It's the most
right after.
departure from himself that you've ever seen. I mean, you know what I mean? Like he did I mean, everybody brings up, Fight Club is probably his sort of his seminal, oh, that's where he made his real name for himself.
Yeah.
Fight Club
The 10 minutes that he had in this movie was better than the entire Fight Club movie, and I love Fight Club.
I agree. Yeah, and I would say this is probably a very defining role for Brad Pitt. He showed that he can step out of the box that he's in. And even in Fight Club, I would say that he was still kind of in the box that he'd been in.
I think this was more an international awakening for him, because I think after Fight Club, I think he could have gotten any movie he wanted. I think with the introduction of this, I think it was more broad market appeal worldwide to show, hey, he's just not another American movie.
You're totally right, and not to mention, I mean, it's one of the few sort of British/Irish/Gypsy accents. I mean, or any version of any one of those.
Yeah.
That's done by an American that's accepted by Europeans.
Yeah.
By all accounts, you ask most people and they're like, yeah, I know somebody who talks like that.
Yeah. Now the other thing I wanted to bring up before I completely just kind of step back and see what you guys also bring up. There's a scene in this film that just pretty much took the cake as to how fantastic a director and showing his view of how things want to be, how he wanted things to be, is, and it really hasn't been done before this as well. I would say it wasn't as done as well as I've ever seen in any other film, is the scene where Mickey gets knocked out and how just see Brad Pitt just right before he hits the ground, he pretty much is like level, perfectly straight.
I was calling
in the cinematography that ever was, and then he goes down, hits the mat, and then immediately splashes into the pool. I think that was an amazing scene that blew me away the first time I saw it. I was like, that is just perfect.
That reminded me a lot of Train Spotting, except in diving into a toilet for heroin. He's waking himself up.
Yeah, I thought that was just done amazing. And then he watches, basically in his own surreal state, his body getting beat up, and then he's just like, knocks the guy out. It was just amazingly done.
This whole movie, honestly, is full of little enjoyable things, like that big black guy being a rally driver, and the whole time they're thinking, he's a fat guy, he's not going to get away.
Yeah, like, how can he get away? He can't even get out of the car.
To them after robbing the bookie's place and taking off the masks where the camera is on them, to everybody having some sort of nickname. Like, my favorite was the Boris the Bullet Dodger. And
why is he called Boris the Bullet Dodger?
Because he dodges bullets.
And in the bar when they shot him, I love the fact that he mag dumped, had to reload, and by the way, you really don't have reticent access to firearms in England, so the fact he left his magazine there makes me laugh.
Yeah.
And then he had emptied it again.
Well, the thing that kind of blew me away, this isn't really a pick on Guy Ritchie or Vinnie Jones, but could you ever imagine trying to shoot a desert eagle sideways?
No.
No, well,
one-handed sideways.
About that. You wouldn't just kind of willy-nilly start winging around 50 caliber bullets. Second, did you know how easy he racked that action?
Yeah.
Well, on the other hand, while it would give you a lot of kick, it'd be a lot easier to handle since it's semi-automatic.
Yes, but the thing that I want to point out, and this is kind of something that I watched, and I was kind of wondering both times, is now he kicks the slide back to rack a round as he's walking up to it. So you don't have a round in the chamber, and you're supposed to be a badass gangster guy.
Oh, no,
and then, hold on. Then after he empties that magazine, he puts another magazine in, but doesn't kick the slide forward. He has to re-rack it.
Oh, no, that's a total Hollywood thing. That's like every time somebody takes a gun out of the holster, you notice it goes...
Yeah. And they don't even cock the hammer back either.
Oh, I wanted to say a few things about, since we've been mentioning Guy Ritchie, and I don't know how many people watching this actually know who he is. So I figured I'd at least give some of the movies he's done.
Who he is.
The most recent.
You mean all the movies?
Well,
he hasn't done very many. It's only 14.
The last movie he did was The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which went out of theaters really fast.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of movies.
He did the Sherlock Holmes movies.
Yeah, the world knows him sort of from the Sherlock Holmes series with Robert Downey Jr., which I mean is perfect for his style. And I mean, anybody who's in that movie
Yeah, I'm gonna
knows
save
exactly what his vision, his sensibility is.
Yeah, I mean, actual fans know him from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch.
I actually think these two movies are his, for lack
Crowning
of a better term,
achievement?
his opus. Because, in all honesty, everything else I've seen of him, it's not Snatch.
Yeah,
it's pretty much what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I just realized
Sherlock Holmes, good movie. It's just not Snatch.
I just realized that I mentioned one more thing without Ryan here, and I wanted to bring it up because I'm sure Ryan would totally understand what I mean. But one of the most iconic British bad guys is Alan Ford, Bricktop.
Oh yeah, dude.
Think about that. I mean, the
yeah.
way that he played this role, and despite his teeth are nasty, he's British, but just an amazing bad guy actor.
I wish they explained his nickname.
Yeah, they didn't really go into it.
Because I really do love his nickname, and the whole scene in there where he's delivering the pigs the food, the whole thing, the whole movie, I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Are you there, Ryan? Well,
yeah.
Okay. So what do you give this?
That,
What do you give it?
This is a 5.
That's fine.
It's an absolute 5. There's nothing about this movie that I would change ever in a million years. I think it's from end to end.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Ryan. This one is one of those that is pinnacle, or we would say this is something that is the bar setting of a 5 out of 5. If I could go even higher, I would go higher. But this is the top of the scale. I mean, all the actors in this film did amazing jobs. Even the King of Mumble, as John likes to refer to him as, Benicio del Toro, fantastic role for what he did. But I mean,
because I was
just amazing
in this movie.
I was telling James while you were gone that I find it funny. I could understand Benicio del Toro, but I could only vaguely understand Brad Pitt. It made me laugh. I totally agree. This is a 5 out of 5. This is a movie that shows how not to waste anything. There's not a wasted scene. And the flow of this movie is the same thing. It doesn't change. It doesn't slow down. Doesn't speed up. And not all this movie's action, not all this movie's talk. They're strong 5 out of 5. I mean, there's nothing about this movie that I don't like, besides the fact everybody's constantly.
Well, a lot of it is so effing subtle that when you're watching it again, you're always catching new things about it. It's little subtle jokes or jabs or visual things. One of my favorite things about this movie, or favorite scenes, when Benicio del Toro is talking to Dennis Farina. Cousin Abby over the phone, and he's getting his suit tailored. Every time it cuts back to Benicio del Toro, he's wearing something different.
Yeah, and then it shows him at the end with no pants on.
I've never noticed
it was like the funniest little sight gag ever for no other reason than it's hilarious.
Yeah, I agree.
That reminds me of the other thing I liked in this movie was that one guy pretending to be Jewish because it was good for business.
Yes, that was a hilarious little bit. Now,
I love that. How he was yelling at those, I think they were Jewish kids hanging out by the front door.
Yeah. And that was another thing I was going to mention is, I guess if you guys aren't listening to the chatter as they're coming in to rob the jewelry store or the diamond place is, he's just totally, Benicio's just totally playing into the Jewish thing and how they do have the conversations about the law and how these things change in comparison to what's going on because of this new theology brought up by another rabbi in his writings. That is kind of how things go at times.
I
but
noticed
the way
it wasn't
he
a
played
Sabbath because he pushed the button.
But that was just an amazing role by him. And John didn't tell us what he gave this.
No, I said it was a strong 5 out of 5. I mean, I actually think he could do a bunch of crappy movies or stop, and he'll forever be known for Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels because it's the two movies generally everybody likes.
Yeah.
And just to let you know, we do have a Facebook page. You love us, hate us, tell us we suck. As long as you're original, we'll read you on air.
Give me your money.
I might also ridicule you, but hey, that's life.
Give me my money.
And how about Pause for the Cause for Old Guy Tech TV in our wallets so we can help keep the lights on. I don't really have a whole lot of movie news. The new Civil War trailer came out for the Avengers.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys watched that.
No, I haven't watched it.
The basic
You know,
trailer,
I'm kind of done with, superhero stuff.
I'm
Ryan, do you gotta
there?
back me up on that one?
I thought I heard him say something about the Avengers TV show.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with it.
It was Avengers Civil War, the new movie coming out in a couple of years.
Oh,
The trailer.
Yeah, you know what? I have to kind of pick and choose because I am a fan of the genre and I am a fan of seeing this cash grab from the shots.
no,
Yeah, I agree.
In all honesty, this seems like Spider-Man 3. It's to the point where you're just kind of like, enough is enough. I like all the characters. I mean, I was really happy they had this strong, long story arc, did a bunch of movies, combined them into one, but I'm kind of thinking they should have stopped the second one.
This is totally beating the dead horse thing, and I'm actually going to bring up kind of similar what you're just talking about. We were just talking about Guy Ritchie, and as I look at this thing, it's rumored that he's going to be doing a new Cannonball Run, a remake of the next.
I'm down for that. Holy shit! That
I
sounds
don't.
awesome.
I don't think.
but you can't have Frankenstein because Carradine's.
No, that's
Well,
Death
obviously,
Wraith.
You can't
That's
love
Death
these, but I mean,
Race.
it's the premise that's gonna last. You know what I mean?
Wait, but first of all, we got to say James is talking about Death Race
I was,
2000
yeah,
versus Cannonball Run. Cannonball Run, however, was a very product
That's
of its
with Jackie
time with the
Chan,
first
right?
and the second one. Huh?
But see, that's my
wasn't
point.
Jackie
Is
Chan
you
in the
can do
original
another
Cannonball
one of
I
those
don't
where it's a
remember.
product
So-
of this time.
I see. I'm wondering if it will turn out
But we
like the
just-
new Death Race.
Yeah, because the new Death Race sucks.
Because that's the
Well,
only thing.
yeah, that was them trying to sort of capture the original feeling of the first one, and
Was Statham in that one?
I mean that's obviously almost impossible to do. Mad Max, I think, is the only one that ever pulled it off.
See, I think the reason
Yeah,
Mad Max pulled
give
it
you
off
rights on
is
that
they were playing to the fans, but they weren't 100%. I don't think playing to the easiest pop. They wanted their own original story that had the same basic premise, same basic ideas, but an original story. I think if they're somehow able to do that with Cannonball Run, I think it'll be a hit. The problem is all these remakes play on the same notes.
Yeah.
I think that would be a pretty hilarious one to sort of remake, though, because it's really like one of those. Hey, you want to go see a movie where people go from one end of the country to the other? You're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll probably still watch it, but I mean, it's just weird to me, like especially with all these remakes, because it's like seeing your favorite band in person and listening to a MIDI version of it on a cell phone. It's the same song, just not the same.
But I mean, but when you're talking about, it's the product of its time. I mean, when you redo that, it's like somebody doing the punk rock version of some old song. I mean, for the newer generation, you're like, oh hell yeah.
Well, but see,
Wasn't Jackie Chan in the first one?
Yeah.
So
I
there
think-
you go. I mean, that's you get a bunch of people that are today's Jackie Chan.
See, but I think that the thing
Jet
that
Li.
you just said about about the punk rock version of it is I think that's what they did with Mad Max. Same song, same lyrics, but they made it their own. If they can do that, I think it'll be amazing.
Yeah, except Mad Max went from punk rock in the 70s to metal.
But
Yeah,
It was the
true.
most metal movie of all time.
But what if we go from?
Even had a guitarist.
But what if it gets remade like what they kind of did with Speed Racer? Although it was a remake, they took the show and created into a new audience type thing that pulled it off.
See,
I
really-
think they pulled off Speed Racer.
I really like Speed Racer, and they picked Christina Ricci, which is the closest you're ever going to get to a living anime character. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly. What was that,
He
right?
left.
I was just giggling at that. That's freaking hilarious.
And it's totally true. I mean, her eyes are.
But Christina Ricci, I still got a crush on you. I always will.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I
You can do
love-
no wrong by me.
I love Speed Racer, even though part of it was kind of like the Technicolor Rainbow.
Well, that's what you
Oh
get
man,
with the
that was
Chowskis.
more reimagining than a reboot.
True.
Yeah, but what do you think if they could pull it off in that way? I think Cannonball Run, if it's done that way, it would work.
I
I'm
think
down
they have-
for that.
Have an opportunity to grab two generations of people and make them fans of a good old-fashioned car movie again.
Yes. But too bad Dom DeLuise is dead.
Yeah, and Roger Moore is a little
I mean,
old to be
that's
doing it.
it's you get people. Nobody today would have any idea who Dom DeLuise is, except for us nut jobs because we love freaking Mel Brooks.
Touche.
But I mean, there's not a lot of early 30-year-olds who love Mel Brooks. I mean, and especially not a lot of 18 to 24-year-olds, which is the kind of demographic that you'd want to try to grab with this, where the parents are the ones that remember the shit from back in the day.
Yeah.
And are like, oh yeah, I'd love to go see 80 cars, bomb down the road and brand new cars and, sort of the state of the art version.
I would, I would love to see it remade if they were able to do it like we said, because if they were able to reimagine it, put their own take on it, then I'd say hell yeah. But if it's basically, if it's basically a remake or a 100% copy of the original, like that one movie we did, I'm not sure if I would be down for that.
Well, see, I think let me put it in terms you would understand, or make an analogy that.
Wow. Smack 'em.
Check this out. Like, if you have an old flintlock pistol, and that doesn't really work very well, you wouldn't redo the pistol and then throw a bunch of laser sights on it and rails to put scopes and red dot sights and things like that. You would. It's like going from the flintlock to like an M&P 40 or a Glock 23 or something.
It would really
just some new aged pistol. It's still a firearm, but it's like this new version of that.
It really depends on how big of a mole ninja I want to be. But no, I totally I get the analogy. Maybe it's just my annoyance of them remaking movies constantly, and they don't make it their own. They basically do the same movie, like that John Wayne movie we did. I forgot
True Grit.
Yeah, True Grit. If you watch both versions, they're almost identical. I like the new one because they have their own spin on it. That's what I want to see. I want to see something that's different enough that it's not the same, same flavor, different taste, or something like that.
Okay.
But no, I'm totally down for that. It's, I just don't want it to be another Spider-Man 3.
I think the people that are making it would probably be excited, thinking like, oh, what would my version of Cannonball Run be like? Like if somebody said, hey, make a movie where somebody was doing this race, that's a pretty broad idea. You know what I mean? It's pretty high concept where you just have this simple thing, and then you fill it with, the day, the era, the zeitgeist.
And they have to make it funny. They can't make it. They because the both versions were kind of wacky. I think the second one was a tad bit more wackier than the first one.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean that's always the case, but no, I think they have to make it silly and fun. Because I mean, what's Cannonball Run? It's a fun movie,
Yeah, oh, totally. They got to have Jay Leno in it though.
Yeah,
the ultimate car guy.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, so that's my point. Is you do stuff like that. That's your opportunity.
Oh yeah. Oh no, totally. So next week. Oh, I just realized this show's going to run long. So next week we're going to talk about the TV show.
Okay.
Because we're running out of time.
All right, that's fine, man.
So next week is James's pick.
Now I actually wanted to do something else, but it looks like that one I'd have to be giving Ryan a history lesson and trying to explain the idiosyncrasies of the movie, which I'll get into watch it later. But I'm going to go with more of a safe one for me. This is called Léon the Professional, and I'm going with Léon the Professional instead of the Professional because this one is the added scenes. So
it's
that's
the European.
Yeah, this is a European release that just a great film by Luc Besson. So, titties.
And next week we'll report on, was it Jessica
Jones, yeah.
Jessica Jones. And I gave the movie Snatch a 5 out of 5. James gave it a 5 out of 5. Ryan gave it a 5 out of 5. Another rare agreement between the three of us. And as always, see you next week.
Goodbye.
Thank you.